Am I the a-hole for announcing my pregnancy at a family dinner, knowing it would hurt my sister-in-law? Throwaway because my husband uses Reddit. I, 29F, recently found out I'm pregnant with our first child. It was unexpected but welcome news. My husband and I are thrilled. Now here's where the situation gets messy. My sister-in-law Lena, 31F, is my husband's brother's wife, so not directly related to me. But we see each other at all extended family events. For years, I've avoided her as much as I can without making a scene. Why? Because Lena was my brother's bully in high school because he was gay. Vicious, cruel harassment that left horrific scars. She spread lies, humiliated him in front of entire classes, and encouraged others to pile on. My brother ended up developing severe anxiety and depression. He almost attempted suicide during his senior year. Our family had to pull him from school and get him into intensive therapy, and he's now recovering with his husband by his side. She never apologized or acknowledged it. A few weeks ago, Lena found out she's infertile. Apparently, it was a devastating blow, and she's been in a spiral since. The family made an agreement, spoken and unspoken, not to talk about kids or pregnancies around her, at least for a while. Well, when I found out I was pregnant last week, part of me was excited to share it. And then I remembered Lena. I know, this was extremely petty, cruel, rude, uncalled for, mean, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. So I planned it. At a family dinner with everyone present, I announced it with a big smile. I didn't gloat. I didn't even look at her directly. I just said it and waited. Lena froze. Then she stood up, knocked her chair over, and ran out of the room crying. Her husband followed. The rest of the table looked stunned. My mother-in-law asked, "Why would you say that here?" My husband didn't even know what to say. Later, I got texts from multiple relatives calling me mean-spirited and cruel. One said I weaponized my pregnancy. Now I'm questioning myself. Was it petty? Yeah. Vindictive? Probably. But was it undeserved? I keep thinking about my brother crying in bed at 17, thinking he had no future, no worth. And then I think about Lena being the center of everyone's sympathy now. Maybe I wanted her to finally feel a fraction of what she put him through. Still, maybe I went too far. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, honestly. I've dealt with infertility and it's devastating and it sucks hard. But if someone maliciously targeted my brother for no other reason than being who he was and caused him to almost end his life, there's nothing I wouldn't do to make them suffer in return. I get this probably makes me a bad person, but I'd want them to feel the same depths of despair, and I wouldn't care how or when I did it. It may have been years since, but your brother is still living with the experience, and despite becoming family, she hasn't said a goddamn word to acknowledge her behavior, let alone apologize. So no, I don't think you're the a-hole here. Congratulations on your pregnancy too. Not the a-hole. If she can dish it out, she should be able to take it. She deserves to know how it feels to feel small and vulnerable. Hopefully her tears and anguish will make her a better person and encourage her to apologize to your brother. If not, bring up the baby at every family event. Plus, is it really fair to ask you to hide your pregnancy? When would they be okay with you mentioning the child? When the baby heads off to kindergarten? Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my GF sister and her kids out of my flat after my GF gave her the keys? People around me are saying I am an a-hole, but I need the perspective of uninvolved people. My long-term GF has my apartment keys, as I have hers. Only unspoken until now, but always respected rule was, if you need to go to the other place, just send a text, "Hey, going to your place." Doesn't matter if the other is at home or even responds. Just simply to tell the other you will be at their place. I was supposed to be away 700 kilometers from home for 2 weeks for work-related stuff. But 4 days in and our instructor got into an accident. Work tried to find another one, but no such luck on very short notice. They decided at like 10 p.m. to get us the first flight home the next day at like 6 a.m., pay us the overtime and the next day at home, then resume our normal work schedule. So I get home the next day at like 9 a.m., send a text to my GF to tell her I am back, Getting to my door, I am very confused hearing children screaming inside since none of the people who have my keys have low kids like that, my brother and my GF. I thought I got squatters or something. Opening the door and I see my GF sister's kid running around after a shower, putting water everywhere. Plates of half-finished ravioli on my living room ground. Their suitcases opened in the entrance. I get inside and see the husband on my couch trying to hook up my PS2 that he must have digged out in my storage room. Getting into a verbal argument with him trying to understand why the F they are here. Said my GF told them they could get my flat for 2 weeks while I was gone. They wanted to visit the city for a bit, go to the beach. My GF sent me a text while I was arguing, telling me, "Oh, okay, BW, my sis fam is at your flat." I admit I blew up on him and the sis who left my bedroom in the meantime. Told them to leave immediately. They argued quite a bit. My GF called her sis, then sis put up the speaker so we could all hear. And she said I was embarrassing her, that she told them they could use my place for a while. I threatened to call the police. Also asked my brothers to come. They left while cursing me to their children, telling that holidays are over because the mean little sister's boyfriend cast us out. I have now all of my GF family on my back and even some of my own family, saying I could have stayed with my GF so the kids could have some vacations. Also, they have read my doctor prescription papers. I put them in a specific order, and it was not the same, and obviously took some of my prescribed meds, opened a box of benzodiazepine. Am I the a-hole for making them leave? We pretty much stopped talking about anything else with my GF. I feel like I am being gaslighted. I would never invite people to her apartment like that, especially without telling her. It seems so disrespectful. Am I going insane? Wow. You have one entitled GF. She loaned out your home like an Airbnb. I wonder if she's been doing this every time you're out of town. You do realize there are other women in the world? You could find one who respects you and your property. Not the a-hole. If the people around you saying you're the a-hole, then you need different people. Who does this? Your GF was wildly out of line in just giving your apartment over to her family. Hard no and hill to die on. Update. Thanks for all the messages in the previous post. I've posted mini updates by responding to comments, so I'll resume everything that I wrote and the follow-up. TLDR, we broke up. Ex-family is blaming each other for the meds theft. Ex-GF sis apologized for her reaction when I kicked them out. Police is utterly useless. After I kicked them out, I received messages from my ex's family and calls from my ex's mom, telling me how terrible I was to do such a thing. I had to set the record straight because my ex omitted to tell her mom that she did not inform me of their planned vacations in my flat. When it got around, they changed tactics and told me repeatedly that, while she shouldn't have done it, I was even worse because I ruined the sister's kid holidays, and that I could have been the bigger person and stayed at my ex place until they left. 2/3 days later, I discover that someone has read my prescriptions and opened my next box of benzodiazepine and took out 5 pills. I assumed it was the sis and her husband, that they got high on it. I informed my friends first, and it must have been shared immediately with my ex. Because less than 15 minutes later, I was receiving messages from my ex and her sis, telling me that it wasn't them and I must have opened and used the wrong box by mistake. I didn't. They must have told their parents because they reached out to a common friend of us to know more. And they started to blame sis' husband to be a drug addict, that they always knew he was bad news and all that. And my ex joined them. Sis and her husband got angry at them, said it must have been my ex. Then my ex blamed her sis. Just crap slinging all over the carpet. Sis even told her parents about how my ex did weed a few times in parties at university more than 10 years ago, lol. At least they left me alone while they were blaming each other. Then, after a few days, got a call from the sis, who apologized about her reaction when I kicked them out. She seemed truly remorseful, told me that it was my GF that proposed it, and assured them it was all good, that they could use my place without issues. And that she assumed we must have had a couple argument when I decided to rescind my agreement for their stay, just to be petty to my ex and get back at her, and that they got caught in the middle. It is somewhat coherent with what they told me and how they acted at that time, so I am inclined to believe it. Still completely deny having anything to do with my meds though. Went to the police, took me all morning to end up telling a cop that very clearly thought I was a liar and an addict trying to get more meds. I wouldn't have said they just stole 5 if I wanted more though. I would have said they took the entire box. He couldn't care less and just wanted it to be over with. So completely useless. Her family got wind of my complaint because it threw some fresh crap in the fireplace, and they got into an argument again. Apparently, her family decided that the most recent perpetrator is my ex, and she blocked her mom and her sis. I don't know much more. Also, we broke up in the meantime. I tried to get an explanation for her disrespectful attitude, but I was stonewalled completely. It was always, how could you do that to me? Or just ignoring me. When told her that we were done, she sent me a picture of my stuff at her place in a bag already by her entrance, and she sent a list of stuff she wanted back. No emotion at all, no apologies. Just coldness. I guess you never truly know someone. Well, I think I've told most of what happened since then, except that my anxiety is through the roof and I have to take meds more often now. I want to thank all the people who answered. I didn't expect nor wanted to be truthful so much attention. A lot of them were great advices. It will probably be the only update. Only thing left is discovering who truly stole my meds. But police will not do anything so meh. I'll edit or post a comment if something do happen on that front. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to straighten my 1.5-year-old's hair for a wedding she will be the flower girl in? Sil is mad at me because I will not straighten my 1.5-year-old's curly hair for her wedding so all the flower girls can match. Personally, I think that 1.5 is too young to straighten her hair. It's not good for it and the risk of burning is significant. She knew she had curly hair when she asked us, so why now 2 months before the wedding it is an issue? She's upset because my daughter's hair is tight ring at curls, despite it being pretty long when what she looks like she has short baby hair when it's dried and curly. It's adorable and I simply do not understand the point of changing the way she is to fit someone else's picture-perfect wedding. I will obviously put in a cute headband and wet the curls and use products to make them less frizzy, but I refuse to straighten them. Is this standard expectations for a flower girl at a wedding? Adding, we are all white. This isn't an act of racism. Thank God, OMG, that would be 1,000,000x worse. I am definitely not complying and hubby will be having a conversation with her tomorrow because what the hell, but yeah, at this point reading the comments, I'm pretty ready to drop out of this crap show. Not the a-hole. Sure, let's put a 200 to 300 degree metal clamp right beside a young toddler's head and within hand's reach. Your Sil is an idiot. Not the a-hole. Ask her why all the other flower girls aren't curling their hair so they can match. If bridezillas be cry. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being resentful and angry that my parents had me so I'd take care of my disabled brother when they die? I, 17M, have an older brother, Shane, 21M, who's disabled and will never be able to live independently. My parents knew from birth that Shane was physically disabled, but it was when he was around 3, they realized he was on the autism spectrum too. Then by the time I was born, he was also diagnosed with an intellectual disability. All 3 of them together means he has a lot of care needs. Those needs mean he needs help to get in and out of his wheelchair and his bed, to wash himself and brush his teeth, to eat and drink, to have anything in his, and he's nonverbal, so he doesn't have the communication skills at all to express what he needs with words. I was primarily raised by other family members until I was 5. I spent those first 5 years moving from relative to relative and visited my parents and Shane. Once I was 5, my parents moved me in and started teaching me all about taking care of Shane. They had me picking up after him, learning to bathe and feed him and all kinds of things. They told me how important I was to our family and how they knew Shane needed me before they even had me. I was 8 when my parents admitted they knew he'd need a sibling to look after him when they died, and they were so glad they had me so they never had to worry about it. My life has revolved around this. And it has also limited my life. There were things I just never got to do because my parents deemed them too high risk for me. So I don't know how to swim. I don't get to hang out with friends really ever. I only have friend birthday parties and they never rented a bounce house or got me a trampoline when I was younger. All play with cousins was expected to be gentle and have no risk of causing me harm. Their biggest fear isn't that I'd die because they'd miss me, but because of Shane. My education has suffered a lot because of it. I'm graduating next year and I already know my grades won't be anywhere close to good. But I'll pass. Which is something at least. My extended family doesn't want to help me have a life, and I feel brushed off whenever I ask them for help. My parents only care about me as Shane's future guardian and not as their son too. Now that I'm older and I feel like I never really got to be a kid, I'm so resentful and I'm angry at my parents for putting me in the position I'm in. Lately, I've been really bitter in interactions with my parents. They've called me out on it and I finally told them exactly how I feel. I admitted to being resentful and angry that they had me to be my brother's keeper. They got mad at me for having any problem with it. They think I should love Shane enough to do all this stuff willingly. My extended family are acting colder since I told my parents to. So I know the family I've seen lately, paternal grandma, paternal aunt and uncle, maternal cousin of my mom are on my parents' side. Although I knew that when nobody cared to help me. Am I the a-hole though? Not the a-hole. They can't force you to be the caregiver. Move out and don't sign anything without reading. Extended family don't want to be straddled with Shane either. That's why they support the parents' plan. Opie replies, I can't move out, but I've never signed anything or would. I don't want to be his caregiver the way they expect me to be. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.